The First Amendment in the Constitution gives us the right to express ourselves freely. Why should they end when a student enters school? I'm here today to persuade you that uniforms are not necessary in the school system. I conducted research that provides proof letting children pick their own clothes is more beneficial than wearing school uniforms. Some of you might believe that uniforms will fix the issues we are having in our school system. After you leave here today, you will understand that uniforms do not fix the problem, they only complicate the situation. I'll begin by discussing why uniforms do not look into the needs of the students, followed by mandating school uniforms will take away from self-expression of the students and harm the attentiveness in the classroom, and conclude with removing uniforms for public schools offers independence to the student. With our roadmap in place, let's begin with why school uniforms don't look into the needs of the student. Making school uniforms mandatory does not look into the needs of the student. In a study done by the University of Nevada, 90% of students indicated they did not want uniforms because their individualism would be taken away. School uniforms make everyone look the same. Students have expressed uniforms take away from their individualism. Mandating uniforms only prove we are not listening to the needs of the students. Students want to be heard, and often they speak through the clothes they wear in school. Uniforms kill the self-expression and don't take into account how the student feels. Now that we have talked about making uniforms mandatory does not look into the needs of the student, let's talk about mandating uniforms will take away from the self-expression of the student and harm the attentiveness in the classroom. Mandating uniforms will take away from the self-expression of the student and harm the attentiveness in the classroom. First, school uniforms restrict self-expression. Uniforms also restrict social communication. School uniforms do not allow students to express themselves through outer appearance. Being judged on appearance isn't necessarily a bad thing. It can also be a positive experience for the student. The clothing students wear is part of a child or a teenager's culture, and forcing uniforms into schools only promote a society filled with robots. Alfie Kohn stated in his October 2nd, 1996 article for the Boston Globe that if we want our students to grow into critical thinkers and ethical people, then we have to aim higher than mere conformity. Second, school uniforms will take away from the attentiveness inside the classroom. School uniforms are not comfortable for everybody. Uniforms take away from the lesson in the classroom. According to an article written by Anne Stevenson, there is no research that can prove uniforms help the attentiveness of the students. Teachers who are against uniforms are having to make more corrections with the uniforms than without the uniforms. School uniforms are not comfortable for everybody. In a study conducted by David Brushma from the University of Nevada, and Kerry Rockmore of the University of Notre Dame, they have provided evidence that shows in order to maximize learning, students must be comfortable in their clothing. What is comfortable for one person might not be comfortable for the next person. Everyone has different comfort needs. Some students are more comfortable in certain styles and certain materials of clothing than others would be. Now that we have talked about mandating uniforms will take away from the self-expression of the student and harm the attentiveness in the classroom, let's talk about removing uniforms. Public schools offers independence to the student. Removing uniforms from public schools offer independence to the student. First, life is about learning to make your own decisions, and part of making your own decisions is picking what you should wear. Removing uniforms empowers the students to make their own decisions. Second, we should foster a culture and an environment that allows everyone to express themselves and reason. I propose for students to be able to wear exactly what they want as long as it is tasteful in nature. For example, as long as it doesn't offend somebody's religion, their race, their gender, or it's not gang related, then whatever a student decides to wear to school should be just fine. In conclusion, we talked about removing uniforms from public schools, offer independence to the students. Mandating uniforms will take away from the self-expression of the students and harm the attentiveness in the classroom. And making school uniforms mandatory does not look into the needs of the student. First, making school uniforms mandatory are not looking into the need of the students. 90% of students say uniforms take away their individualism. Second, mandating school uniforms will take away from the self-expression and the attentiveness of the student inside the classroom. Uniforms restrict social communication. School uniforms are not comfortable for everybody. Third, removing uniforms from public schools offer independence to the student. Removing uniforms empowers the student. We should foster a culture and an environment that allows everyone to express themselves within reason. The First Amendment in the Constitution gives us the right to express ourselves freely. We shall allow our children to express themselves without being judged or being restricted. School uniforms do not meet the need of the majority. There is no reason or no evidence that uniforms fix the problem within our school systems. In fact, uniforms only produce more issues than without wearing uniforms.